All right. Welcome back to another week of Scotch Hour. I'm Noah.
And I'm Jesse.
All right, Jesse, I think we have a great week here. We had a great week. We saw Batman a second time.
Yeah.
I will reiterate, I think that's my favorite Batman movie.
It is definitely mine.
And this week, your Smarter Challenge was the movie review 300, what it means to be a Spartan man or a woman, if I got that correct.
That is absolutely correct.
And today is Pi Day, so happy Pi Day. I'm not really a big fan of pi, but I know it's about the mathematical number pi, so shout out to you, Brian.
He's like, what's that number? 275? No, 3.1415. No, I'll let you go.
And then this does air on St. Patrick's Day, so happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there.
That's right.
Scotch this week is Benriach.
Benriach.
Smoky
10. Yeah.
Smoky 10. All right. And then we have a restaurant review. It's actually a restaurant we visited previously and did a review on, but we actually did a wine pairing dinner there. So that is going to be on the Fogo De Chao. And for those of you who are tuning in, if you do like our podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. And also do us a favor, leave some comments below.
Scotch Reviewed.
Here we have the Benriach, the Smoky 10. This is a triple cask matured, first matured in bourbon casks, then Jamaican rum cask, and finished in toasted virgin oak casks.
I like the idea that this Jamaican rum.
Right? It all sounds pretty good to me. So Rachel Berry is the master blender here with this Scotch. She did well with the regular 10. And like the Smoky 10 has me pretty excited, eagerly anticipating some great bold flavors to come through with those three cask types.
Yeah, they're saying it's supposed to bring out the intense smoked applewood flavor and honey sugared
Dude,
maple.
if it's smoked bacon in there, they're in trouble. They're gonna run out real quick.
Exactly.
But with that, it's supposed to be smoky and sweet, full of great flavor. We're gonna find out. 46% ABV, and this is gonna be fun.
And they're from Speyside again, right?
Speyside, yes.
All right. So as you're opening that up there, just a quick reminder, the founder is John Duff. They opened up this distillery back in 1898.
1898.
And it sits on the old Riach farm. They're in North Speyside.
That is exactly right. Where are you from? The old Riach farm? Ding!
Apparently, they one of the reasons why they just as a reminder, as you're pointing that, one of the reasons why they chose that spot was because of the water.
Yeah.
Water there, right?
The more we learn about these masters of malt, Scotch in particular, we're really learning they place themselves pretty well by water sources.
And didn't you say John Duff, like he was
He was a master blender for many of the great houses of Scotches. This is including Glenfarclas, the Macallan, Glenmorangie, and then that other one, which I can't remember, partially because we had not heard of it before.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That is right. There was that one that we never heard about before. All right. So let's go ahead and we'll do our warp speed here, and we'll come back with our tasting notes. Snip.
Snip.
So for me, on the Smoky 10, I was actually expecting a lot more smoke to it, but I didn't get like a ton of smoke, or at least not like I think the reason why I'm saying like I'm not getting a ton of smoke is that like when we try like Smoke Head or something like that, it was like overpowering with smoke. Mm-hmm. And thinking like a Smoky 10, I was expecting a little bit more smoke flavor in there. but I am pleasantly surprised it wasn't overdone by smoke. So on this one here, on the nose, I get a light honey sweetness with a smoked applewood. And I really do like the way it smells, especially the sweetness that comes along with it.
Mm-hmm.
The color is a nice light golden color. I do kind of prefer mine to be a little bit more on the copperish side or like or brassy side.
Favorite Catwoman?
But it's still a nice color to it. And this next part here, like when it comes to the taste, once again, I think I'm getting hit. Like it's almost sweet throughout the whole from mid to from the front to mid to back palate. I get a nice sweetness all throughout. And so the front is more like a sweet honey. The mid palate, though, I think it kind of dips off. I almost don't catch much of a mid palate. But right at the beginning or near the tail end, I get some like some pear.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, with the finish, I get a light smoky oak finish to it. And really, I think the one thing I really will say about this particular Scotch is if you like something more on the sweet side, this definitely has a lot more sweetness to it. And I think it has to do with that Jamaican rum.
Man, Jamaica got a bobsled team. Hey, for me, I'm gonna kick back to my review of the original Benriach 10 and what I have since deemed and called the Honey Rider. So with this, you've got a pretty similar smoky honey flavor with that. So for me, much like yourself, the color is a nice light gold, bright gold, I guess is a great way to describe it. With that though, man, on the nose, what I get is a smoked honey glaze, the kind of glaze you have on a meat. I'm not getting a ton of the applewood, but I'm getting a little bit of the applewood. So it's almost like that honey baked ham glaze smell when you pull that bad boy out of the oven after heating up the honey, and it's just spiced, oak spiced in this case. But oh yeah, it's just that honey glaze. And then on the palate, much like yourself, a little bit of the smoked applewood. The honey maple flavor really comes out to me on the nose. That you mentioned sweet, and I think that's some of that dried fruit scent that's coming out. On the palate, I'm getting more of the honey, the maple, a different type of sweet than the original Benriach 10 because it's not just honey, it's spiced. So more of a maple. With the finish, this is a nice medium to long finish. And I think part of this comes in, to your point with the triple cast. They do that quite frequently. This is 10-year minimum. So you've got that ex-bourbon cask, and then you've got your ex-rum, Jamaican rum barrels, and then you've got your virgin oak casks. Something that Benriach did starting in the 1970s is they kind of went back to that old 19th century way of they used smoked barley from Highland peat. And I think that's part of what's really building in this here, the sense of not so much on the nose, but just a little bit of that smoked peat through the body. Absolutely. And well into that finish. For me, this is a great Scotch. It is a little sweet, reminds me in ways to the regular Benriach 10 because of that honey sweetness. I would not call this one a honey rider, but man, it is pretty good. Now, to compare it again and then say which one I would go for, I do like the smoke. I like the smoked barley, and this is pretty great. This is an A+ to me.
I agree. I think it's a great Scotch. And I think for someone who I'm not sure what the price point was on this one. I didn't have it in the notes.
I think it was right around, I want to say 69 with tax. So $65 range, just slightly more, is $5 or $10 more than the regular Benriach 10.
This is something I would probably give to someone who's not typically a Scotch drinker, especially because of that sweetness you do get from that Jamaican rum.
This is, man, The weather's getting there too. This is the kind of scotch I want to drink when I'm smoking a cigar at the fire pit.
Yeah, or even on a warm day. I'm being serious. Like,
I agree.
Like on a summer night or something. Yeah, I think this would be a great bottle on a summer night because you're not being bogged down by like an over oaked or over smoky or over peaty scotch. It's kind of like really light. It's refreshing, has a little bit of sweetness to it. So like after a really nice meal, you can use this almost as almost like an aperitif, if you will.
Yeah, no kidding. And maybe this is a perfect scotch for upcoming Easter dinner for your honey glazed hams.
Anything else you want to say about this?
No, I think Rachel Berry slam dunk once again. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
All right. I think I said all I wanted to say about it. It's good. Stacy.
Speyside, Highland, single malt scotch, 10 years.
That's the one thing about this, though, being that it is a Speyside, it has more sweetness to it than I normally would expect from a Speyside.
Definitely a sweeter, smokier, probably the smoked peated barley. Delicious. I love it.
Yeah. 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. Now 4. Put on your scotch glasses.
It's time for our shout outs.
All right, let's go with shout outs first. All right, so my first shout out is going to go to Tom Brady, coming back after 40 days, still has it in him, in his mid 40s at this point, and he's going to go for it again. You earned your retirement, but if you got bored with your gorgeous supermodel wife and kids at home, hey, I get it. More power to you. Apparently you wanted more to do. No, but seriously, like if you're in a prime, and I think if you look at his results this past year, is passing just what he did as the oldest man on the playing field in 2021 into 2022. I really say cheers to you, Tom Brady. For if nothing else, I hope you'll still love the game and want to really do some great things. And yeah, I think that's great. You're following your dreams. I will say, man, that it's a tough gamble, but when you have nothing to lose, and you really don't, like you could have the worst season of your career this next season, it would feel terrible, but you already won. You're already considered the GOAT. Literally all over the magazine stands right now. Greatest of all time, retired. Not. But good for you. I mean that. And that's a shout out because I think why it's a shout out to me is, man, I had really lost many reasons to my favorite reason to watch football. I'm not a huge football fan, but Tom Brady, you make it exciting for me. I love rooting for the old guy, if you will, particularly the old guy who's showing up the youngins. So again, cheers.
Yeah, football. I mean, college football I still watch on a regular basis. As far as NFL goes, I've kind of like stopped watching that a few years back. Yeah, I would say that I think it's kind of great that Tom Brady's coming back. So that's a great shout out there. Yeah. The Broncos made a pretty big trade here recently for a quarterback in Russell Wilson. So. I'm not really sure if that was like, I think my gut feeling by looking at what they gave up seems like it might have been a little bit too much for him. But hey, if it helps him, like now everyone's saying that the Broncos are now a Super Bowl contender again. So hey, it's a good thing. That's not really my shout out. I was just kind of like jumping onto the tail end of yours.
No, I agree. I think it's great. And when I lost it with football was when they stopped showing a respect to America.
That's exactly when I lost it.
That's literally like Tom Brady since then has been and what he's done for the sport has been the only reason.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers.
Oh yeah, dude, he's actually like, yeah, you're kind of goofy, Aaron. You made some poor life choices, but not wrong life choices. And there is a difference. You stayed true to you. Just the politics really affronted you with it.
Yeah. Hey, I you know what? I'm all for him not taking the vaccine and stuff like that and standing up for his rights and stuff like that.
It's bigger than that. It's about the little lies and little pieces. Like, hey, man, still, like, it's unfortunate the politics got in the way.
I agree with that. Any case, my shout out is actually just gonna. I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit. About people. I think you like showed me a meme, something about like in order to be my friend,
dude. Yeah, Sterling sent that to me.
How does it exactly go?
It's like, hey, here's the deal. If we're going to be friends, you need to know something. You got to believe in some conspiracy theories, at least 2. You can't believe in all of them, but you got to believe in at least a few. Otherwise, we can't be friends.
So I'm giving my shout out to all the people who have an open mind to at least I'm not saying that you have to believe in all the conspiracy theories, because we know probably out of you and I'm the bigger conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, there's a lot I don't believe in, but I still keep an open mind.
And also, but I don't believe in everything that I share out there, but I'm just sharing it so that way people see it, and then that way they can go do research. So I'm just giving a big, huge shout out to all those who have an open mind and then do take the time to research and they critically think about things. Whether or not they believe it or not, that's two different things. But I just want to give a shout out to all those people who have an open mind.
Yeah.
And also my second shout out, normally I don't do this. I usually don't talk about my day job.
Oh.
But as you know, like I've been putting in a new an 8-week program where they're doing an analysis, and then they're going to choose 2 people out of 6 in order to get this, to get a position. And I just want to give a shout out to, not that anyone ever from work really listens to our podcast, but if they do, in any case, I want to give a shout out to the other 5 people that are in the same kind of boot camp that I'm in. And we've all been working really well together, and it's kind of been great because it's almost kind of like we've taken a team type of
mentality
approach. Yeah, mentality to it. Like, like when you talk about sports teams, you have like someone who's a starter, and then you got the backups, right? But the starters still help out the backups, and the backups help out the starters. And it's basically iron sharpens iron. And so it's been really great to work with these people who we've all been sharing kind of like what we're doing and stuff, and helping each other out just to make sure we're all better for whoever gets the spot.
Now, for anyone who's curious about this 6 to 8 week program, what it is you take a pill every day to see if it gets bigger.
No.
And what we're talking about is a paycheck. That's what's getting bigger. What do you mean no? You don't want a bigger paycheck?
You said a pill.
Yeah, man. You're swallowing a pill. You're swallowing a change in your life. It's not an actual physical pill. It's a pill to see if it can get bigger.
I took you literally there.
Yeah, dude. No, it's what's bigger? Paycheck. That's not literal either. Potentially.
Hopefully it's a bigger paycheck.
All right. Anti-shout outs. So get it together now.
Yeah, get it together. Yeah,
all right. So my get it together, my / anti-shout out, it's a shout out to them, but man, get it together is, hey, Congress, nice job giving yourself a cost of living adjustment, 20% raise. What?
Yeah, what? I mean, come on. So you're telling me you're screwing over the American people by like bad policies with.
You should have to live with your sales results.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, they should lose money, not gain it by screwing up policy. Well, how does this work?
So they create policies to where
you're cool.
So they create policies that basically result in inflation, like hyperinflation almost.
Yeah, beyond hyperinflation. They say food hasn't even been accounted for yet.
So this place, like almost every American is losing.
Dude, my spending power has diminished drastically,
and yet they give themselves it's actually a 21% raise. You know what, Congress? Get it together.
Yeah. I mean, I think honestly they did. But what I would really love to see is when Congress does that there is a cost of living adjustment for everyone, because everyone's seeing the same cost adjustments. However, there are lots of people. There was somebody out there who made a comment and was like, "Get over it, you guys." It was a liberal character who said, "Get over it, you guys. I'll be happy to pay the extra $2 a gallon." Of gasoline.
Why not? You got 21% pay raise.
Right. But beyond that, wait a minute. Yeah, you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. What about the person who's living in poverty and doesn't have that $2? How about you, if you're so willing to save the environment to pay that extra $2, just pick, like one city, one American city with 500 plus people who are living in poverty, and pay that adjustment for them. And I promise you're going to start to see it. You're going to start to feel it. How dare they say that? Oh, I'll pay the extra $2 to save the environment. You're not paying it already.
Yeah. So here's another, just to kind of jump onto your coattails there about Congress. How is it like Congress, right? They pass a health bill, And the health bill that they passed for all of Americans, they don't even get the same kind of health. They get a better health plan than we
No,
do.
it's literally absurd to me. It is the greatest failure in current American government is the way that the Congress and to a great extent the House of Republicans also gets to treat themselves out beyond our own
You mean House
lifestyle.
of Representatives?
Yeah, that's the Republicans, man. We're Republic right now. We could go back to House of Democrats pretty soon, but you never know.
All right. So here's my here's one of my get it togethers.
All
okay?
right, let's get this together.
All right. So we have Biden on the first day of being in office that shuts down the pipeline.
It was
The Keystone
wasn't it
Pipeline?
the second day,
Well, second day.
first week.
We'll call it the first week. Within the first week of him being in office, he shuts down the Keystone Pipeline and puts up new restrictions that had previously been opened up by the Trump administration, which allowed for more drilling and easier areas for them to drill in
To reduce the cost of living without necessarily hurting.
and to make us energy independent. Now, Biden has, after he has restricted that, and he has basically said no more imports from Russia. And then I think it was Venezuela basically told him to go take a right up the bunghole, and they just basically told him to screw off. So
That's an enema. I got it. This town needs an enema.
so I just want to say, hey, Biden, get it together.
Get together, Barton. So this one I just think is funny, and it's kind of like a shout out versus an anti shout out. And this one goes to Elon Musk and Vladimir Putin.
Oh, okay. I got to hear. Yep.
Did you hear about this?
No.
So Elon Musk literally tweeted and challenged Putin to single combat over Ukraine. The two of them going out to a field, dueling to the death. And
I'm sure Elon Musk will get his ass kicked.
I don't know, man. Maybe let's face it. You see a picture of this guy in college, it's like, yeah, this guy's never getting laid. And then all of a sudden you're like, what? He has 6 kids or 5 kids by 5 different women. Like, what?
Money. It's called money.
Yeah, I know. His whole look changed. Maybe he's had some other martial arts training or something. Putin's getting old, but anyway, yeah, man. Dude, that's actually a shout out. But what I would say is Russia's response about you're just terrible. You're the way they responded. Yeah, get it together there, Russia. You've done a lot of great things, dude. That was not one of them. Your response should have been yes. We'll see you there. You buy Ukraine, and that way you actually have a dog in the fight. He might actually be able to buy Ukraine at this point. You buy Ukraine, we'll have a dog in a fight, and yes, then he'll go to single hand combat. Throw something just as absurd out. Don't go calling him all sorts of names that really are meaningless.
Okay, I got another get it together here. This
All
is
right.
going to go out to the mainstream media. They were just caught in another lie and doing fake news, where they said that they bombed a hospital, which had been closed before Russia ever went into the Ukraine. So here, once again, since they got caught doing another fake story, trying to push propaganda and push maybe a possible false flag, mainstream media, get it together.
I mean, that one is pretty bad. But they did bomb a hospital. That's a play on words, right? Just nobody was in it.
Nobody.
What they really bombed was
Well, actually, there was
one-time hospital.
There were some people in there, but it was the Azov brigade that had guns. And
I'm
stuff
gonna
in
call
there.
that the poor life choice, wrong place, wrong time.
So anyway, yeah. So that's another get it together for me.
Yeah. And, as you guys hear us with these get-togethers, do not think for one second we take the tragedy going on in Ukraine, the lives being lost, lighthearted. We do not. It is something that I actually have shed multiple tears over. Hopefully never on this show, because I don't want you seeing that side of me. I get pretty ugly when I cry. But it is real to me, and I do hate the loss of life in that kind of situation. So please don't take offense thinking we don't take that seriously.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And here, war should be avoided at all costs. But when you have people who keep encroaching into your area, setting up biological labs in your back door or your backyard, basically, it's kind of hard not to. You have to do what it takes to protect your own people.
Well, I think that's the key question. Backyard. I think that's a good way to really look at it. As far as get it together, Ukraine, you literally just had to set a border between you and Russia to be considered a NATO nation, and you didn't get it together. Like that was their get it together. Come on.
Yeah, that goes all. For those of you who honestly believe Ukraine is a independent state, back in 2014, the UN Secretary General had mentioned how they never actually filed those paperwork to be that follows international law to set borders.
Yeah, it's
something that, I think the guy's name is Ben Moon, the old Secretary General that talked about it.
It doesn't even matter. Like, just get it together.
Yeah, just get it together. And I guess when we're talking about that, if you are the United States and you are putting together what they are now calling bio research laboratories, trying to like rename it instead of being called a bio lab. Right.
Biolaboratories.
Why, if it's just a research lab, why do you have so many of them? And why are they in so many other like different countries? And why are you trying to not have inspectors come in and view what's going on there?
It's only 20 countries. It's not that many away from America, but I have not heard of one of these things in America.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, I'm like, okay, like, if it's just a research thing to kind of look at for prevention and stuff, okay, that's one thing. But why are you blocking investigators to come in and check out what's going on? So in this case, if even there is a possibility that one of these pathogens could be used as a biological weapon, and you're blocking inspectors to come in, I'm going to say, even though I'm from the U.S. government, get it together. And I think that's my last one. Otherwise, we could be doing this all night.
Yeah, we need to stop, dude, because we could literally do this all night.
Restaurant Review.
I don't even know what to say.
Restaurant Review is a freaking 10.
No.
Well, it's got to be close to 10.
Yeah, if they had not had a mediocre finale. That was their one loss.
Oh, yeah.
Without shouting it out just yet. That was their one, like, even the cook's like, yeah, no.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Like, everything, I overlooked the dessert, but you're right.
That's literally why I just reviewed my pictures. I'm like, okay, what was it that was the one negative? And that was the one negative.
That was the one negative. Yeah, so I guess it can't be a full 10. But it was pretty close.
Yeah. And that's a struggle. It's not that it wasn't a 10. I'm going to think about that while we give this review. Do you want to start or you want me to start?
Here's what I'll say is that I got an email from Fogo De Chao to do a Chilean wine pairing dinner at the Fogo De Chao. And it was like 30 people. I think only 28 showed up though. And it was a 4-course meal where they matched wine up with each course. And I guess you could say it's actually 5 courses because the 5th course would have been the dessert with coffee.
Yeah.
The charcuterie board. Oh my gosh, that bacon. Oh, it was so good.
Dude, I literally have avoided talking to many people about this because of how good it is, and I don't want them to think that I live.
Man, it was just like
that much better than them, even though I do.
That bacon just kind of like melted in your mouth, and it had that nice like it was like crispy and sweet and
maple syrup flavor. It was probably the most perfect bacon I've had in my entire life.
I would agree with that.
All 21 years of it.
And then the roasted garlic was so great. The only problem with the roasted
overpowering.
It overpowered the other stuff. I loved how they had smoked Gouda with it. I wish,
and the Manchingo.
Yep. And then the mushrooms it was okay. And I think that was a prosciutto and salami. Was that the other with the 2 meats?
I think it was a Genoa salami. Yes.
Yeah. And then the wine pairing with that rosé was so great. And I think you said you picked up a bottle, right?
That's the one I picked up. Yeah. I was the one where
I should have picked up a bottle of that too.
Man, none of these wines are cheap, by the way.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like I think that one was like $35.
That was the cheapest bottle of wine on the list. I didn't buy it because it was the cheapest. I bought it because it was actually the one that I didn't feel like I could go to a liquor store and replace to have the same experience, the Meritage. And yeah, actually, ultimately, the two blends in the middle, the red blends, were amazing. One, which they did classify as a Meritage, which means you have to have certain percentage of certain number of wines. A red blend does not. So to be classified as a Meritage, it literally actually is far more meaningful than most people give it credit. Ferrari Carano makes some Meritages as well. That's the only other area, like the Ferrari Carano Trésor is the only other wine I could compare to these blends that I've had where I'm like, man, this is great. And it was good wine.
It was good wine. And normally I'm not a big Chilean wine fan, but
South American wine is usually so disappointing.
Exactly.
Not that night.
Not that night. They made actually a really, I think it was the way they blended their wines and what grapes that they used. Because usually, like when you think like traditionally about Chilean wines, it's like one or two varietals, and they're not the main varietals that you would get like out of Bordeaux. And I'm a huge Bordeaux fan, and these blends actually were close to like Bordeaux type style blends.
Yeah, great earthy flavor, just enough wood or oak. So what we're talking about is with the Fogo de Chao, it was VIK Vineyards or VIK Winery that was the wines we were tasting that night. And what I would tell you is check it out. Some good wines, some of them available at Total Wine. Not sure where else, but we did find out some of them were available at Total Wine. Here's the one thing. They have a winery with, I believe it was 19 regular rooms and a few chateaus or fancy rooms where you can go and stay and have the full experience. Man, I am in. If I can afford this, I am in. They have what I would consider probably the most modern, artistically modern and artistically beautiful winery I've ever seen. What we saw, they showed us a video and some photos, and it is gorgeous. What they didn't show us is, the different mobsters in South America coming in and causing any problems. Who knows? But they do believe in a lot of things. So one of the things I also thought was great, and they spoke to this, and it was one of the things I sensed from my first glass of the blend, the red, was, man, this oak tastes a little bit different. And they do source some of their own fallen oak trees to use as the oak to age their wine in. And it was great.
All right. So do you want to say anything about the first course, or we pretty much covered that?
Man, the charcuterie board, the only charcuterie board I've ever made better than that one is the ones I've made for myself.
Okay. Do you want to talk about what the second course was?
Man, you go right ahead.
All right. So the second course, I don't remember which wine we had, but I do know it was the
Mila Cala.
Yes. And it was a butternuts. Is that what it is? Butternut squash.
Okay. So yeah, it was a butternut squash soup and good. Salad.
I hate butternut squash.
I hate butternut squash soup too, but we were both like, God damn, this is the best soup I've ever had. This ain't no normal soup.
And it also went really great with the pairing, the wine pairing. And then, it came with the salad too in the second course. So if you do happen to go to Fogo de Chao and they have the butternut squash soup, I highly recommend trying it out. It's super creamy. And I know they gave us what the spices were, but I honestly believe that there is still some cinnamon and some other stuff.
Yeah, they basically said that they just have regular old produce and it's the greatest, best produce, and all they added was some lime juice. Now, this is actually possible because lime juice does amazing things for my palate. One of the reasons a great gin and tonic is my drink of the summer.
Oh, I love gins.
G&Ts, man. Oh, man. Heck yeah, especially when I'm working hard and I want to get totally wasted so I forget about how much I heard after I'm done working hard. That's it. I'm in, man. I'm in all day, all weekend. But with that, we talked to the cook, we talked to the chef, and we're like, hey, help us. Like, this has this beautiful pumpkin pie flavor almost for a butternut squash, not too sweet soup. Divine, great. It was the biggest surprise of the evening for me, as far as everything except for the finale was great. Everything literally was great. And so this second course was a huge win.
And then, do you have the list? I don't even know what we had for the third course.
Man, they kind of blended it all together, and I've lost it. But it was another one of their blended wines. But this was with their regular cuts of meat that they have. You can get at the brunch or lunch menu
Or dinner.
But the only flaw there was this is one of the few nights I wanted more.
Oh yeah, I definitely wanted more. Especially I think it was the sirloin with that salt,
the fat and the salts flavoring the outside of the meat. And we got served first, so we got the perfect medium rare on the inside, salted.
It's so good.
Like burnt fat, basically flavor on the outside. It was great.
And the wine, once again, wine pairing was great with it.
It was the wine really, all of them, including the rosé.
And actually, I think the third wine, I think that wine was my favorite one.
Yes. And that was the cheaper of the red wines. It was interesting because I agree with you 100%. I think that's the one they actually did consider a meritage and not a blend, because it predominantly had 3 red wines, each of certain percentages.
I think, wasn't that one like $60 some, or was that 80?
That one was 45.
That was 45?
Dude, yeah, it wasn't that much more than a rosé, but the rosé, like, I feel like I could replace that with a Ferrari Carano wine. I've literally not had a rosé as good as the one we had.
All right, and then the last course, I do know we had the Wagyu beef along with lamb chop, and I'm not sure what the third meat was on there.
It was the filet, center cut filet.
Yeah, so the filet was
I've got
great.
the picture right here.
The filet was like butter.
It was like butter, and it also buttered my ass because Noah's size slice that he got was 4 times what I got. He basically got a center cut 8 to 12 ounce filet mignon, and I'm like,
big.
Dude,
it's definitely bigger.
Compare these pictures on the show. Jesse's. No,
is that mine was definitely larger than yours.
We're talking about the meat on the plate.
And but you got like more like lamb meat.
Yeah, the lamb was good. I will tell you, that was another thing where it wasn't bad. No negatives. However, once you've had something like the lamb lollipops at Elway's where they're not gamey and it's just perfect, this lamb was average. But that being said, when I say average, any lamb is great. You can't get lamb anywhere.
And I'd say the Wagyu I was not that impressed with.
No, I'm the same way. Like, I don't go spending extra money on that. I'll take a great filet over a Wagyu New York strip any day, just because even though it's the New York strip, it's so fatty.
Right. The wine on that pairing was also really good, but I don't think it was worth the $213 or $231 or whatever it was worth.
Whatever they were selling it for. Yeah. It was a great wine, but again, I'll go for when it comes to a Meritage or a red blend, I'll go for the Ferrari Carano Trezor.
I would go with a nice Bordeaux
or a Ferrari Carano Sienna.
Yeah, and then from there, the staff that was there, I think they did like the one of the cooks that you talked about. He did a phenomenal job. I think the head event person, I think her name is Amy. I thought she was really nice. She did a good job.
Amy Winehouse.
No.
Oh, she did, Jesse.
And then I forget the name of the person that worked for the wine distributor, but I think she got a little bit intimidated by us.
Yeah, when we started talking about scotches and wines in particular and flavors and aging, she came to our table once and then never revisited. Really, because I think she was just, and this isn't a negative term, but dumbfounded by our own knowledge.
And then the last course being the
so this is
the creme brulee, which was grainy.
This is what limped the entire meal.
Yeah, so the creme brulee, which I found to be a little bit grainy and not as like smooth and custardy as I would liked. And then they served coffee with it.
Presentation for all of the dishes was perfect. Even the presentation on the creme brulee, man, it looked great. And when I make my creme brulee, I don't always make mine look as great as that one did. However, my flavor is where it's all at. It's not always about the bottle. Sometimes it's actually about what's inside, right, guys? And with that, we love her, but she better be beautiful on the inside. And this on the inside, this creme brulee was mediocre at best. And what the tragedy is there? That's how you're finishing this whole night. Like,
yeah, it was a little bit weak
limp
there.
finish.
So I would say like normally Fogo De Chao is a win anyways to take a date and all that stuff. And I'd say it's normally like a 9.
If you're not getting laid after that dinner, go find a new date.
But if you're able to go to like one of these wine pairings there, I definitely would give it like a 9.5 or something. The atmosphere, the information, the way they do their presentation, I think it's all great. There's just a couple little few minor things that they could tweak.
Again, this is my struggle. I want to actually give it a 9.9. The only deterrent of the whole night was the creme brulee. And so, like, don't let me dissuade you from giving it even a 10.
No, I'm still giving it a 9.5.
But like a 9.9, like, again, the only deterrent was the creme brulee. The staff was great. They were fun. All of them friendly, came over and spoke with us. Knowledgeable on all their bases. What they didn't know, they went and sought the information for us. And I love that. I love a person who's like, I don't know, but I'll find out. And then they actually tell you. They actually do the research. And they're like, hey, by the way, supposedly it's only lime juice and great produce. Okay, well, I don't believe that for a second. I taste nutmeg and cinnamon and everything else. However, I'm not going to like not discredit it because you might be 100% right. It's just, I can't believe it yet. That damn soup was that good, right? And
it was. And you I'm sure everyone has to realize that we really like it because we've been talking about the restaurant review for almost 30 minutes now.
Yeah, it's okay. It's this quick subject, man. It's a quick subject. So with that, the experience was great. First date, yes. Second date, yes. Wedding date, yes. 10-year anniversary, yes. You just want to go get laid, absolutely. And
I concur with everything he's saying.
Yeah, and also you just want a fabulous dinner with a friend. Yes. The price point right around the $110 mark, 120.
120.
Worth every penny. Literally worth every penny. 9.9. Fogo de Chao, the only letdown, the creme brulee. And part of that's because, man, I can make better creme brulee any given day.
I would rather have your creme brulee.
Yeah, that's a good thing because I make better creme brulee any given day. I can screw up and make better creme brulee. It was pretty rough creme brulee. But the rest of it was great. I love the location, the atmosphere, the environment. Everything was great. The service. And I'm going to get off this hobby horse. Otherwise, I'm going to ride it till I've just spent another 200 pennies. And we're at like, hey, what day is it? Thursday? We started. Yeah, we're good. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Really, for me, the smarter challenge was a simple one. Again, trying to really wind down or wind up, depending on how you want to take it, what character is, what it is to have code, to be moral, and looking at Spartans. And in this case, the movie 300, a graphic novel written by Frank Miller turned into a movie by Frank Miller, and so well done by the same director that, guess what? Yes, did Batman versus Superman. So you've got this amazing movie. All great movies stem from good writing or fabulous writing. And then the question comes in with this situation. You've got the main character, the king and his queen, and they go to save, they being he goes to save, she goes in a different route, but both to save their own Spartan community or country. And what does it mean to be a Spartan? And or what does it mean to be a Spartan wife? So Spartan man versus Spartan wife. And this comes in kind of interesting because there are different codes, but then there aren't. Both of these individuals are willing to die and kill for their communities. And, it's just a fabulous movie that really shows that perseverance, that great training, that sheer will sometimes can outdo magnitudes of might.
Okay.
It's like John Wick. guy goes around in a city, surviving one night, killing hundreds of people to get out of a city. That's what the Spartans did. They had this battle, and
I just don't know where you wanted to go. That's why I said okay.
yeah, like, what do you think about, what does it mean to be a Spartan? What did this king do for his country, ultimately Greece? And, what did he do? What was his code, in your opinion?
Well, I think if you look at I think when you're looking at the movie itself, the code, they talk about how they go through what's it called, the agog. It says like every boy goes to the agog, which
Starting at age 7, yeah.
Starting at age 7, but which is not technically true because some kings are like heirs who are going to become king. I didn't necessarily have to go through that, but as far as the movie's concerned, they all had to. So they're all born to be
warriors,
citizen warriors.
Yeah,
and so they have a warrior's code. They start off from a very young age. They get to education. They learn military strategies, and they learn how to basically perfect the phalanx. So the code is very strong about family, about protection. Like if you look at the history, like we have some history notes from the History Channel here that talks about like how they pushed family really hard, and they actually kind of like, you were kind of the butt of the jokes if you didn't get married and have children.
Well, particularly if you were a male.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is ironically almost opposite of modern society in many ways.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really to replace those fallen Spartans. And really, it's all about like their country, their countrymen, and basically they're like the biggest, baddest people around, and no one really screwed them. And so I think you hold that true to, they were free people. And even their women, they much different than most of the other Greek counterparts. They got education, and they also competed in all that stuff too in order to attract a male suit.
It was kind of like the gypsies, if you think about From Russia with Love. These females wrestling around and fighting to attract the best males.
And so I think when you look at how they were like citizen warriors and stuff like that, they had a code to live by
and die by.
That, yeah, they're not going to sit there and be subservient to a tyrannical leader.
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything you just said. It's super interesting. So what Noah was talking about is in the movie, and somewhat in reality too, a lot of them were sent away, if you will, kind of like the hitman, right? In a sense that, except the hitman doesn't have parents, but sent away to learn to fight, but not just fight,
but also to think.
But to think, and not just think. Here's where it gets tricky. Here's where it gets really like, just to use your melon, is they were also taught to steal, to cheat, to live off the land, to be able to be great and nothing at the same time, to be able to survive alone, but also respect a team. And that's really hard, man. When you have nothing and you're surviving all on your own, you're fighting everyone to survive. But then at the end of the day, you come back and you have to realize, okay, so this is, in this case, Sparta, and I will die for it. That's a really empowering situation. Obviously, some psychological genius behind it, but with that, it's just really great. It ties along with so many things, particularly the cheating and the stealing, but also the family. So you think about Kaiser Sose, the usual suspects, like what he did to save, quote unquote, his family, really saved their reputation. To change history for that family was the key there, or Charlie Barrett, or any of these people from Suicide Kings. It's amazing to me. A Spartan man lived by a code and died by a code, and was willing to do that to save his country. So did their women. Now, their women weren't usually sent out to battle. Now, this is interesting because in modern society, we're all about equals. Well, which one's actually greater? Because the women actually got to stay home. They weren't just raising kids to go be future fighters. They were doing all of the work that it meant to make food, make shelter. They were doing everything that men and women do on the home front here.
Yeah, but their home front was slightly a bit different. It wasn't like they're really doing the cooking or anything like that because that was done by the slaves.
Right. And that's another thing they don't even talk about is that they had slaves. It's also super interesting there. But with that, the Spartan women were doing basically most of what men do today.
Yeah, I mean they were allowed to own property. They were allowed to basically own businesses and stuff like that. So really they kind of ran to like day-to-day like economical type things where the males were kind of like more just about the military side of things. And then the people who did like the day-to-day like operations as far as like cleaning, cooking, and all that kind of stuff, that was what the slaves did.
Yeah. And literally the interesting part to me, why this really comes in is where there was this, great society. And I mean this, like a great society. And truth be told, as Noah mentioned, you can find notes on this. The History Channel has some great ones that you shared, some other notes. And ultimately, one of the tragic truths about this battle is that they did, in fact, lose a lot of lives largely because they had one traitor. That's all it took.
Yeah, so if you've never seen the movie 300, it is talking about the ancient Battle of Thermopylae, and it's basically it's still studied today by like military schools and stuff like that.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, so it basically is like 7,000 Greeks versus over 100,000.
70,000.
No, 7,000.
Oh, Greeks. Gotcha. Yeah.
Versus about a little over 100,000. Persians.
You're right.
And by the time everything was all said and done, I think they said it was like roughly 1,000 Greeks died because of whence Leonidas found out that they were betrayed by the one person.
He sent them most away.
He sent most of them away. And then they killed approximately 20,000 Persians.
Yeah. Hashtag winning John Wick style.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, winning John Wick style. And here's a real question here. Yet one has to really think about or ponder. What if they didn't have that traitor? How, like, do you think they would have demoralized the Persians so much to where they went, like they would have just
the fact that the history has shown that traitor was the one that swayed that battle? Yeah, I think it would have been. I think ultimately they still lose, but it wouldn't have been 20,000 Persians. I think it would have been 40,000 Persians. The Persians ultimately lose the battle either way. But man,
well, I think after that battle, like they. Obviously, it became known as the Spartan 300, but there were like other tribes or Greeks there. But what I think what it really did is it inspired the Greeks throughout all the Greeks to come together, and eventually they did overcome a force that was way larger than them altogether.
Yeah, for sure. Why this ties into our current situation, why I really brought this into the fold is just thinking about, and there's no answers here, we're not saying one thing right or wrong, is the true fail of Sparta in 300 was politics. Once the politicians, the greedy politicians, the corrupt politicians, the politicians giving themselves raises and everything else not due to the own average Spartan, they literally, especially in the movie, more so than what we know in history at this point, is that they are the ones that swayed the battle and caused the king Leonidas to lose his life, along with many other Spartans. They're the ones that were the shortcoming. Now, in real history, there was also a very important holiday going on, but...
Well, they talked about the holiday in the movie as well, but they kind of mixed two things together, or actually probably like three things together. But just to kind of put it simply, though, is that they had these priests that were with the oracle, but they were corrupt, both in real life and in the movie. Mm-hmm. And you see it in the movie where that one politician pays these priests off to basically kind of persuade or lie to Leonidas to where he could not take the full might of Sparta with him to go fight this battle.
With that, you have politicians that were supposed to live like the people, but we're taking bribes of what would ultimately be millions in today's society in gold, taking huge bribes from Xerxes, so the Persian leader in the movie, to change the literally, like, I can't think of anything better than just finding out, as you pointed out, Congress gave themselves a 21% raise. Hashtag winning. Give me some more dollars. You guys are all dealing with our decisions that have increased inflation. Oh, what? Now you got a problem?
Yeah, so I think you make a very good point here.
Hashtag winning.
You make a good point with talking about that politician in that movie who wants Queen, what's her name? Queen Gagna?
Queen Hottie.
Queen Hottie.
Let's face it, this role landed her the Game of Thrones role.
Queen Gorgo, I think it's Gorgo. I think it's Grogo. But anyways, she ends up like stabbing him in the middle of the Senate chambers, and when she stabbed him, his purse fell open with a bunch of
Persian gold.
And then they're all like traitors. And up to that point, he was basically persuading them to stay out of the battle.
He was the main leader. Why? Because he had money and influenced them because he was corrupt. And that's tragic. It's truly tragic. But she throws out a good quote there.
Yeah.
This will not go quick.
Wow. That's because of what he did to her earlier when she was trying to persuade him to help.
I mean, what would you do for your country? That we're not going to go into.
So I do think that does show a little bit of, you see corruption within the priesthood in both real life and in this movie. You see corruption within the politicians in both real life and this movie when it comes to the Greeks or the Spartans, if you will. And it's even true today. And here's the thing is that how do these people get into those situations? It's kind of a reflection of the people.
It largely is, and it's tragic. And the Spartans ultimately, both in the movie and in real life, perish. They diminish. Some of that's not necessarily bad, but some of it is terrible because when you do live by a strict code, you are going to die by a strict code. And they did not have all the backing or the resources of true people. They had more corrupt people coming against them than not. And that's tragic, but
Me too, Brutai.
But yeah, man. One of the things you mentioned, you got some favorite quotes?
Oh yeah, one of my favorite quotes. Obviously, I think everyone remembers from the movies. When the emissary who comes to talk to Leonidas, Leonidas basically tells him like, "Hey, be careful with what words you say, because whatever you say here, you're held." Just as reliable as if a king were to say it. And basically, Leonidas didn't like what he said. And he goes, "This is Sparta," and basically kicks him into the big hole.
Right. And I think the key point there, though, is you have to understand there was a heightened level of respect between the Spartans and their wives. And this is the king looking back after he's like, "Be careful what you say, Persian, because this is Sparta." And this is after he's already been forewarned by the Persian. Stupid dude, this is King Leonidas. You're done for. Don't screw up. And he threatens him anyway. And all King Leonidas does is look back at his wife and she nods. She's like, yeah.
And once again, they were just as much respected as the men were.
Yeah, well, they worked just as hard. They lived and breathed and died Sparta just like every soldier, every wife.
And then the other one here, which I think holds true very much today as well, was from the Queen. And she said that freedom isn't free, it's paid with blood.
That's true.
And I think even our founding fathers, I think it was Jefferson, but it could have been
one of the. I think it was Franklin.
That's might have been Franklin. We're talking about like the Tree of Liberty has to be watered with the blood of tyrants and patriots.
Yes.
And it's true. And if you're looking at it, I mean, it is our job as citizens or of the U.S. and the Constitution that if our government does become tyrannical, that the patriots we have a duty to uphold our Constitution and remove those who are tyrants. And it's true. I mean, the French, obviously, they've done it plenty of times.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. Nobody wants to see war. No one wants to see anyone get killed or anything like that.
Except for those that'll benefit from it.
True.
I only have one quote.
Okay.
Queen Gorgo, played by Lena Headey. And you already mentioned, like I mentioned, but you mentioned her with one of your quotes. freedom is not free. It's paid for by the blood. With me, like, and I really want to emphasize her role here. She acted this brilliantly.
Yes, she did.
And if they didn't select her for the Game of Thrones role based on this action, like, that's too bad, because that's all it would have taken me. But when she is saying goodbye to her King Leonidas going off to war, and she says this quote that will forever stick with me, and it's not as artistic or easygoing even as freedom's not free. It is, come back with your shield or come back on it.
That's a Spartan code there.
Right. But I think more so, if you really break down what that means, this was her saying, beyond everything else, I believe in you. I trust in you. This isn't just your dream. This is your choice, because it is. And the bottom line is, I support you.
I think
Like, I may never see you again. I still support your choice.
I agree with you that she was supporting them, but I think it was both of their duties. That was a Spartan.
For sure, that is one thing that's underlying. But the quote itself is, you could use that quote today, and it is meaningful. It is, come back with your shield or come back on it.
Yeah.
Live or dead, like,
Live
it's
or
okay.
dead, you protected you protected the country, or you died protecting the country and protecting us, protecting me.
And in real history, it took them weeks to get back to the battlefield and save or collect his body, but they did eventually collect his body. And it's that same sort of thing, which is ultimately, therefore, he fulfilled her request. Which, goddamn, nobody wants to die for their wife or their country. Nobody wants to do that. But guess what? There are some, man, I hate to use like U.S. military slogans, but the few, the proud, the brave.
There's nothing wrong with using that.
I know, but it's just sad that sometimes that means, man, these people, the people who do not respect the U.S. military or any military, that's tough. But the U.S. military in particular, these soldiers who give their lives to protecting our freedoms, which we absolutely, even myself, who self-reflect every day, we take this for granted, man, shame on us.
All right. So for those of you, real quickly, though, I think historically, one should probably look at the Battle of Thermopylae. It did happen in 480 BC.
It's between 480 and 430. They don't know an exact date, but yes, 480 and 430 before Christ. So the numbers go backwards. It's not that we're saying 430 to 480. It's 480 to 430 because we're getting closer to our present time.
Yeah, I think one probably. Oh, so here's actually what it was. It says the Greek army killed 20,000 Persians and they lost a total of 4,000 men.
That's one estimate. Another estimate is 2,000 to 20,000. But either way, 8 to 1 or 10 to 1, they were kicking butt.
Yeah. But ultimately, like you mentioned, it did lead to the Persians eventually losing and leaving.
Dude, the Persian Xerxes was actually a brilliant leader, both in the movie and in real life. One of the things he did to make people feel like his troops were immortal was every day he advanced, he replaced the exact number of soldiers that had died, or close approximate number of soldiers that had died, with live soldiers. So there were always 10,000 soldiers approaching. Pretty smart. Now, he wasn't going around using elephants or rhinoceroses, as any historian can tell. But man, great for the movie. Beautiful for the movie. But he absolutely was someone who was learning, who was super intellectual. But his people, man, is a leader who won't put yourself at risk. Unlike Leonidas, your people don't have the same faith, therefore do not have the same drive to win.
Yeah, so I was gonna say this kind of brings I think was it Eisenhower or who? There was a general, a U.S. general during World War II, who talked about the difference between the U.S. Army versus, I think, the Nazis, or it might have been somebody else, or maybe he's. But basically, he said that we'll win this war because they're all volunteers. I forget how that quote is. I have to look it up, maybe.
Well, ultimately, I hear what you're saying. They believed in America. They were willing to, no different than Spartans.
Right. where the other ones they were forced to be in the military.
Particularly the 300. So again, with the story of the 300, they made sure that they did literally have volunteers for the initial
Not only
onslaught.
volunteers, but it also had heirs.
Yes, that's actually another piece of history. Like there's so much of what Frank Miller did. Obviously, he did some research. Good for you, Frank Miller. I love that. I love facts because that's real. He did some research and created this story that isn't a story.
Yeah, I mean, he embellished some parts.
I mean,
but
yeah, Leon. Oh yeah, Leonidas probably wasn't that sexy.
Overall, what do you think about this? I love the cinematography in this.
Cinematography was literally phenomenal. I think people don't give it a whole lot of credit for what it did with blue screen, much like The Matrix of the today. For its time, it was amazing. Definitely a rated R movie, not something that's a PG-13 just because of the gore, but done brilliantly. Yeah, did Spartans go around wearing loincloths and red capes looking like Superman? No, but the cinematography was still done well. And one of the pieces about the cinematography that I'll never forget, if you watch the movie, consider this, watch and pay attention to the capes. At the beginning of the movie, when they go on their journey, the capes all start full length, dragging on the ground. By the end of the movie, most of the capes are a foot shorter because they've been worn and torn and dragged so much. And that's just brilliant. That's brilliant cinematography.
And that I was listening to, or I read the interview with Zack Snyder, who did the directing,
who also did an amazing job with Batman versus Superman. This guy's done great things.
And the Snyder cut, and he didn't do Sin City, but he had some other good ones. But in any case, he talked about the reason why he wanted to use blue screen is because he thought that was the only way to bring the graphic novel alive. Basically, because of how the graphic novel was drawn out and everything like that, to bring in those screenshots into real life, he said the only way we could really do that is by using a blue screen.
I don't doubt it. And the same effect is done in, you mentioned Sin City, another one of Frank Miller's wonderful pieces of work. Man, I love that movie. Both of them. Yeah.
They're all great movies. Anything else you want to add on about this topic?
No, that was really the bottom line is you have to, for me trying to continue to open our audience's mind, where do you fall? Do you want to be a Spartan? Do you not want to be a Spartan? Do you want to be a Spartan woman? Do you not want to be a Spartan woman? Do you not want these roles? Now, I can't say I want any slaves, but at the end of the day, we all are paying someone to make us food, to serve us, to do these things. So slavery has really changed since 300 or Spartan times. The slaves weren't treated as what we view slaves in America.
Yeah, I think ultimately, we're going back to your initial arc to now. It's how much do you want to live by a code, and how strictly will you live by the code that you make, and are you willing to violate your own code to be bought off and be a traitor?
Give yourself a 21% raise. Oh yeah!
Obviously, he is not happy with Congress.
I literally am appalled. And here's what's tragic about everything else is that as Americans, we have been conditioned to worry about the $2 gas price increase than the $20,000 to $40,000 raise Congress just gave themselves.
And don't forget, when they passed that,
20,000.
they also gave out a bunch of foreign aid too.
40,000. Yeah, to Russia.
So there's another interesting fact. It took multiple days for them to pass the $600 or $900 stimulus bill for Americans, and it took them less than 48 hours for them to pass the pay raise.
Hey man, what about me? Yeah, got you. What about me? What about me?
So in any case, I'm
gonna start taking those pills to make it bigger. The paycheck.
I would say that I think one does have to ask themselves what their code is, or whether they're willing to live by the code, die by the code, or do they not have that moral fortitude to hold up to the code and become traitor not only to themselves but their countrymen?
Now, when he says moral fortitude, he's talking about testicular fortitude, not that a woman can't have balls. Too soon?
Not at all.
All right.
Oh, that's another thing. No, we won't go there.
Thank you. All right. That was really, we covered, I wasn't trying to get some like super heavy, deep historical piece. Noah did a lot of research for us and went a little bit deeper as what he thought was appropriate. And I don't disagree, but really what I want you guys to really think about. What do you stand for? What do you want? What are you willing to, if you're willing to, go lie, cheat, and steal and be a member of Congress, go for it. Give yourself a 20% raise. You can do that. Just go rob a bank.
You have to die, you fucking bastard. You traitorous bastard. Just die.
Yeah. So I think we all want that from the Spartan that betrayed them. Actually, I don't disagree. So yeah, he's not wrong. So with that, just really like consider from our get-go, our start of this podcast, really trying to learn ourselves, share, help you guys grow as well. What do you stand for? Think about it, deliver it. And we're not saying don't go for a better promotion or a better job or a raise or anything else, but what I would love to see in America is real corporations really living by real words when they say we pay for performance. Because I can remember years where I worked 15-hour days, 300 days out of that year, and I wasn't paid for that performance.
It's a shame that corporate America and America in general, they will promote people who are willing to backstab their coworkers or their compatriots. And I think that's the wrong kind of values that should be promoted.
Yeah.
You do it with morals, do it with dignity. Don't backstab someone to try to get a position.
Or just how about this? If you go into your workplace and that is you, I actually don't have a problem with that. Here's where the problem comes in. The Persians outright said, we're going to come and take over your land. They weren't lying. Just go into work and look at all your peers and say, hey, by the way, I don't care if I have to step on every single one of you. I want to get promoted. Okay. I want to take over your country.
I agree with you in that.
Have a code and live by it. Don't lie, cheat, and steal. That's all I'm asking. I actually think if you go in there and you're like, hey, by the way, I look at you and I see weakness. I look at you and I see a little turd. I look at you and I don't even know what the hell you are. You're like a frog with a wart.
Okay.
Oh, that's a toad. That's what I think of you. I'm going to take over all your land. You can resist if you want. I'm still going to try. Peace. If you got a problem, deal with it. That's what I'm saying. Live by a code, but live by it. Don't lie by
it.
With
you. Like, okay, I agree with you there. Like, I did say try to go the moral high ground, but if you are going to be that type of person, be honest about it.
Dude, that's like, I hate it. I hate it. But Putin is living by a code. I don't like anything he's doing.
I actually think what he's doing might be the right thing.
Right, but you're going on the conspiracy theory bandwagon, and I don't know that that's wrong, but I also don't know whether it's right. But what I will say is he did not lie. He did not say, I'm not going to do this. He was literally like, hey, by the way, I just moved 30% on my military
Dude,
force.
He's talking about like you guys have like a bunch of biolabs in my backyard.
Yeah.
You guys have been like
he did not lie.
You guys have been promoting a bunch of Nazis over there in Ukraine.
Yeah, some of that's a little stretched. I don't know about all of that.
That's true. That is documented.
It's documented, but I'm just saying everything can be
how about
fake.
this?
There's literally almost no real news.
The UN had an anti-Nazi resolution. What two countries voted against the anti-Nazi resolution?
Germany and Ukraine.
Nope. Ukraine and the United States.
Yeah. I almost said us, but I don't know about that. But at the same time, man, if they're not lying, like I don't know that I really have a problem with that.
The CIA is the one who helped set up the Azov Nazi battalion.
All right, so we're gonna get off that subject because that is a whole new can of worms. But really, here's my point: is have a code and live by it. Please, like if you come into me, if you're a new person coming to me at my work and you're like, I want your job. I'm like, okay. Now, I might ask you, how do you plan on taking my job or getting my job? And if you're honest with me and you say, I don't care if I have to stab you in the back or anything else, I'm going to respect you far more and actually be like, hey, man, like now I appreciate you might be an adversary that's worthy versus, oh man, I'm just going to learn everything from you. And
I'm going to be your friend and then
yeah,
backstab you later
be
on.
your friend. Yeah, don't do that. That's not cool. That's not a code. Those aren't morals. That
It might be a code.
Dude, here's where it gets tricky. You can't live by a code and not stand by your code. And if you have a code, you can't cross.
If you're coded,
that's psychopath and sociopath behaviors. It is not code behavior.
If you're willing to do that, you have to be willing to have that done to you.
I mean, and I don't think those people consider that. I actually think there's a piece in those people's heads that's broken where they literally don't understand.
There's something out there that there's a study that's been done, like CEOs and
sociopaths.
Yeah, they're basically like
social. Yeah, and it's funny because I got a plus on a speech I gave in a speech class I took not that long ago, and my speech was you had to sell something, and I was like, okay, here I am. I'm giving administrative assistance to CEOs, and I'm selling sociopaths.
All right,
dude, it was a win. I'm just telling you, you can't deny the facts.
Sorry, but I don't mean to be cutting you off.
You're good. This is a long show, but it's not Kennedy long.
Right now, we're at Kennedy long.
2 hours? That's nothing. 121's nothing.
Anything very, 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 very last, like 1 or 2 bullet points on your.
No, we're done with Spartans. Just live by code, please.
All right. So next week's Smarter Challenge is we're going to watch a documentary. It's called America, Freedom to Fascism, done by, where's my paper here? Aaron.
I love fashion.
Russo.
We're good.
Fascism.
Aaron Russo. Russo.
Aaron.
Aaron, you done?
So Aaron, or Aaron Russo, he's best known as producing and directing Trading Spaces with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. And this is, once again, it's a documentary that was done in 2006. He went on a mission to find out whether or not there was a law put in place to where people had to pay taxes on their income. And so we'll go ahead and we'll watch that. We'll talk about it and see how much of what he predicted in that documentary has come true today or what's kind of off. And
Wesley Snipes would say, yes, you have to pay your taxes at this point. He lost.
Well, there's more to it than just about the taxes part, though.
Right.
And then what's next week's Scotch? You got 3 of them behind you.
Which one were you wanting to do? You had a couple great ones.
I thought we were going to do the red one.
All right. Next week, Glen Dronak, original 12-year age Scotch.
All right.
I love this red.
It's a nice red.
It's a great red. Highland Single Malt Scotch Whiskey. Oh, we're going to find out. Until next week.
Till next week. And all right. So any last words to the people?
Please drink responsibly.
That's it.
Thank you for watching the show. Hopefully we enlighten you just a little bit, but really, yeah, it's at this point right now, it's like, please drink responsibly, have fun, love life. Life is great. If you have some feedback, please give it. What do you like? What do you don't like? That's poor English. But anyway, with that, man, if you want to be on the show, reach out to us. If you're like, yeah, I want to try this Scotch, let us know. We can try to get you on the show. We'll go do another restaurant review. You can meet us there and we'll have some fun. Yeah, and I could go on for hours, but yeah, please. Thank you for watching. Continue to let us know how we can benefit.
So as Jesse mentioned, please leave some comments down below, like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. If you do want to become a Patron member, you can do it as low as $1 a month. It's in the description down below. It's the very first one there. It is the Podbean Patron. It has a hyperlink. You just click on it, and it'll take you right there if you want to donate any money to our show. That does go back into our show for us to get better equipment or rent a movie theater, hopefully, which we would like to do someday if Top Gun 2 Maverick ever comes out. And
supposedly this summer.
Supposedly. And then for those of you who do watch us on YouTube and Rumble, thank you very much. For the new couple of subscribers on YouTube, thank you for subscribing. For the couple of subscribers on Rumble, thank you as well. On Podbean, Spotify, and all the other audio places that you guys happen to find us on those. Thank you for subscribing to us and listening to us. I know this past, I think in the month of March, we've had, I think, a couple from, Denmark or something like that. Some weird places, like some places outside
one of those
the US.
countries where 90% of the cars sold last year were electric powered, and we're like, cool. Like, how do you get your electricity?
And apparently, we do have like one loyal listener out there in Illinois. I'm assuming it's one listener in Illinois because you've been listening. You've had like 2 or 3 downloads every month. So thank you very much. We greatly appreciate you. Keep that up. If you do have any ideas or requests or anything like that,
want to come visit us in Colorado and share a scotch,
you could do that as well. Just give us a shout out there and just leave a message. I believe if you leave a comment, we'll be able to see that as well. Thank you once again, everybody. Enjoy life. Life is great. It is precious. And, pick a code and follow it. And, stick to your code. And with that, wish you guys all a great night. Same Scotch time, same Scotch channel.
Cheers!
We hope you enjoyed this evening's episode of Scotch Hour. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you have not done so already, please become a Patron member, with memberships starting as low as $1 a month. Thank you, and hopefully you have a wonderful evening.